We are about to cook a 634-year-old recipe written by the personal master cooks of King Richard II. It dates to roughly 1390. The manuscript is called the Forme of Cury. It's one of the oldest and most extensive guides to English medieval cooking, eventually preserved and printed by the antiquarian Samuel Pegg in 1780. The text contains the earliest known English recipe for macaroni and cheese, and it's the first to introduce an English audience to luxury imports like olive oil, mace, and cloves. Hidden among the roasted peacocks and elaborate pastries is a dish called fungus. It's a simple pottage made by simmering foraged mushrooms and leeks in broth, ingredients that the local peasantry were often forced to pay to the castle as a form of tax. While it looks like a humble meal, the recipe functions like a financial record. Every ingredient in this bowl was either commandeered from the king's subjects or harvested from his private protected forests. The instructions are direct. The cooks are told to take the mushrooms, pare them clear, and dice them. Then shred a leek small and put it in a good broth to seethe, the Middle English term for bringing a liquid to a gentle simmer. Simmering a pot of broth for a medieval monarch required a staggering amount of labor. Historian Mark Cartwright notes that royal kitchens relied on a small army of specialists, including master bakers, slaughterers, and dedicated sauce chefs, to execute even the simplest components. These specialists operated in an environment of massive open fires and huge stone ovens, some of which were built large enough to accommodate a whole oxen. In this context, fungus was never a standalone meal. Royal feasts could include up to 10 courses, and this heavily spiced pottage served as a starter, designed to prepare the stomach for the mountain of roasts and game that followed. Even the act of boiling a vegetable required the massive logistical power and highly organized infrastructure of the castle to work at a royal scale. The flavor was built using powder fort. This was a sharp historical spice blend made of pepper, ginger, cinnamon, cloves, and mace, used to distinguish the king's table from the more mundane food of the lower classes. The most expensive addition was saffron. Harvested from the tiny stigmas of a specific crocus, it was an incredibly labor-intensive import that traveled thousands of miles along Mediterranean trade routes before reaching the English kitchen. This chart shows how saffron compared to common medieval staples. In 1438, a pound cost 182 pence. To pay for it, a master mason, one of London's most skilled craftsmen, would have to work 23 days straight. The saffron was added primarily for its visual impact. It dyed the pottage a brilliant, unmistakable gold, ensuring that everyone at the table could see the wealth the host was able to afford. By the time the spices hit the broth, the cooks transformed a bowl of local fungi into a concentrate of the global trade routes controlled by the crown. The result is surprisingly modern. There is a sharp warmth from the ginger and pepper that cuts through the earthy mushrooms, while the saffron adds a distinct floral note to the leek leaf. If you choose to explore historical foraging, be aware that medieval cooks picked wild fungi from their local forests. Modern foragers must be certain of their identification to avoid the many toxic varieties that grow in the wild. Recreating this dish shows that a historical recipe can be analyzed exactly like a primary source document. The mushrooms point to the king's control over foraging lands and forest laws. The spices track the reach of international trade. And the cooking method shows the era's reliance on high-energy, specialist-driven kitchens. By following these 600-year-old instructions, we are able to experience the logistical and economic reach of a